Yeah, Rap Radar Podcast, Elliot Wilson.
Beat that.
What's up, baby?
It's good time.
We got a baby in the building.
I know. When?
Black, what's going on, sir?
What's good? How you?
And that's your lovely daughter, of course?
Yes, 6.
6?
Yeah.
6 goddess.
I know why she's here, man. Because you guys have the R&B album of the year
So far.
There you go.
And we want to talk about that cover in particular, man. You guys are on the cover together, man.
Yep. I'm about to say she might say something like throughout this. She might not make it through the whole thing. We're gonna see. We'll figure it out.
Word
Well,
up.
talk about that album cover. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, like it's powerful on so many different levels. Like, how did you come up with that idea?
The cover was just like a random Father's Day shoot. Just walking around this house in LA. They were just taking pictures. So we weren't really shooting for the album. We were just taking pictures. And when it came time to figure out the album cover, we were just kind of going through like options that we already had. And it was like, wait a minute. That's the one right there. Like, nothing is going to be doper than that picture right there. So
that's really like you making breakfast, making songs?
That is now more so of a depiction of, like, since I've been gone, I barely get those moments with her. So, like, moments like those where I do get that second to, like, have her on me and, like, move around, make music, make breakfast, like, whatever it may be, like, that's what I wish I could do every single day, you know, is be, like, well, it looked like a house dad, you know.
Yeah.
You had to run it by mom first? Okay.
Now I'm about to say, yeah, they do a ton of photo shoots. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. No, but congrats on the album again, man.
Thank
I mean,
you.
like I think you said something about with sophomore albums. You know, you looked at it from an analytical standpoint. You said sometimes people get either too confident or lack confidence, right?
Yeah, and I think as long as you, like, avoid those two things, like, you don't get your head too far ahead of, you know, what's going on because you might have had, like, a hit single or, you know, you might be being championed by everybody else, or as long as you don't feel the pressure of what do I have to do next? Do I have to change? Do I have to impress, you know, this person, that person? Like, I kind of stayed in the state of I just want to make music. I want to make what feels natural. I want to show progression, and, like, the rest is, you know, it'll figure itself out.
Why was it important to, like, you know, have these female voices kind of narrate the album? Because as I'm listening, you have Tierra Whack on, you know, Let Her Go, Sorry, Light Skin Keisha.
Yep.
Even your daughter's mom on Seasons.
No, now that was a mistake. I don't know how that got on the internet, but the last one is actually Mariba.
Okay.
She's signed to Interscope too.
Oh, okay.
Name used to be Mariam Mariba, but now it's just Mariba. But yeah, as far as the skits go, I didn't have any female features, as you can see. So for me, the main thing was, like, figuring out how to keep that strong female presence. And as I'm, like, navigating through, like, all these perspectives and, like, all these different emotions that I'm running through, I wanted to make sure that I offered, like, an opposite, you know, side of it, or, you know, what the rebuttal might be. So wanted to, like, kind of infiltrate that and, like, put that in certain parts and just keep the storyline going. That's all.
Yeah. When did you start nailing into that concept that you was going to make this sort of album that you said really tackles love and the complexity of it and the language of love? Like, because I saw, like, you know, end of the year you were saying you had 100 songs and, you know, you obviously been working. Like, when did it click that you sort of just take form of what the concept was going to be?
Soon as we finished the last project, I was probably thinking, well, we were trying to figure out what the theme was going to be for the next project. And I was telling him, like, bro, the last project was everything I went through up until that point. I'm going through so much, you know, right now that I'm just like, there's nothing else that I can talk about. There's nothing else I want to talk about. Like, in 2 years, my life went from one side of the spectrum all the way to the other side.
Right.
So, and with that, obviously, with success, fame, money, like, comes new problems, you know, new things you got to figure out. And, yeah, that was pretty much it. I was just trying to presently capture what I was going through. Didn't want to, like, think too far, try to figure out anything, you know, too left field or creative, or, like, just, like, talk about what you're going through. People want to hear it. They only ever got 11 songs from you, so that, you know, they aren't tired of you. Just extend the story.
You talk about new problems, man. I was listening to Loaded Gun. You talk about how more money, more problems, and, like, you know, people coming up to you asking for things and things like. Have the ask increased since the last album?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think, like, the perception of success is a thing for everybody back home, and, you know, the people that you kind of grew up with and came up with, whether it be family, friends, like, they don't really understand that just because, you know, I quote unquote made it, that money isn't, like, forever, you know, like, it isn't endless. You know, I haven't made it to the point where I can, like, kick back and be like, all right, you know, you taken care of, like, now we good. Like, I'm still working, you know, to make sure that once I get to that point, then I can, you know, make sure mom is straight, make sure, you know, that the team is straight, make sure everybody else is straight. So the requests, they increase. Cash App, I'm about to say, yeah. Cash App is like my worst enemy right now.
It's so easy to give me money, Black. Come on, I'm your cousin,
I'm about
man.
to say, yeah, back when it was Western Union and, you know, stuff like that, I could be like, you know, give me a couple days. Or it's going to take a minute. Cash App is like, nah, I need it like before 5 o'clock or I'm getting
you had
evicted.
some fans on Cash App, though. I thought to go to one of your listings or something,
But
right?
see, stuff like that is rare. Like, they don't, I mean, well, now that I did that, my DM is full of like, yo, can you send me $400 for blah, 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 blah. So, that was some fans coming from Florida. They were trying to get to the drive-through.
Yeah,
it's like, the drive-in. They were just like, yeah, we want to come up there. We don't have no gas money. I just so happened to see it. I was like, cool. Just send me a Cash App.
So is it hard to say no though?
To family and friends.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have business managers, so his biggest thing is like budgeting that and making sure like, okay, you know, clearly you got to take care of your people, but you know, don't ever get into a habit that you can't like keep up with, or don't ever, you know, do something that is just gonna like not benefit you in the long run. So his job is to make sure I don't go broke, and my job is, you know, to make sure everybody's comfortable in some kind of way.
Speaking of your team, I feel like as much as praise has been with the album, it's also been praise around the whole rollout of the album.
Yeah.
You know, the execution of it. Like you mentioned, you debuted at this drive-in in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, talk about some of these ideas and how did this all take form to just make sure this is presented the right way.
Rollouts are a lost cause, especially with like new artists. I think we kind of put our projects together, throw them out, you know, whatever happens, happens. Or like surprise drops are the new rollout. So it's just like, you know, they kind of bank on impulse to make the music splash. And for us, when I introduced myself to the world, it was like a photo shoot, and it was a hairstyle, and it was a color theme, and it was, you know, like, and a bear. It was like all these things to where people like had to pay attention to something other than, you know, the music. So with this rollout, we were like, how can we make it Atlanta, but make it, you know, for everybody? The drive-in is a place that everybody in Atlanta's been to. If you were on my side of town, like, people got in the trunk to sneak into the drive-in, you know, so that was one of the places. We did Magic City in L.A.
Yeah, you brought Magic City to L.A., man.
Good. Talk about franchising.
Yeah, I'm about to say
Six might have to step out for this, man. I don't want to talk about this right now.
I'm about to say, in L.A., they never seen anything like that, ever. So, yeah, Magic City was really dope.
But back to the drive-in, you was having so much fun. You ended up like jumping in people's cars and stuff.
Yeah, so they like listen to the album, vibing out. I'm like walking through the grass, like hopping in random cars. People turning around like, who in my car? And then they look and they like, oh shit. Like, I'm like, you know, just keep listening. I'm in the back seat, vibing, chilling, kicking it in trunks. I'm like just walking around because at the end of the day, like, what I wanted to instill in Atlanta, especially since most of them saw my come up, was, yeah, I'm still a regular person, and I always want to be a regular person. And anything I do, you know, anything I can do to make sure you guys know that, like, that's what I'm gonna do. So.
Yeah, I see that a lot of time on social media. There'll be somebody like, I went to third grade with Black and we did a freestyle in the class. You know what I'm saying?
I know you from where? Elementary school.
Yeah. Now, I got like super, just extensive ties in Atlanta. I moved around so much and like was in so many different neighborhoods and classes and schools. Like, so when I did my Tabernacle show in Atlanta, when I was performing, it wasn't like, it wasn't like I was looking at, you know, fans. I was performing, and I'm looking at fans here and there, but I'm also looking at third grade, elementary school, high school, college, neighborhood, like everywhere I looked, I saw a face, you know, that was familiar.
Did you and JID come up together? Because I saw a tweet that he said that you guys performed at some university. It was like 13 people in the crowd.
Yeah, me and I was sleeping on their couch like before everything kicked off.
Oh, the Earth Gang dudes.
Yeah. I was like couch surfing everywhere.
Yeah.
But that was like one of the last couches that I got to before, you know, everybody ended up doing their thing. So I would be at his crib, and he would have his mic set up with his iMac. We would record. We probably made like 2-3 mixtapes worth of music. And I ended up doing my thing. He ended up doing his thing. We both ended up at Interscope. And it's crazy how it worked out.
All right.
That's crazy. Now, so even out of that, you met Mac Miller during that time, right?
Yep.
On the grind. I saw like you expressed how much you was, you know, we all hurt by his loss, but you definitely got to spend some time with him in those early days.
Yeah. Mac, I actually met for the first time just in person when I was at Coachella. This was the year before I performed, so I was just, you know, as a fan, I went, show face, promote, all that. But maybe 2010 is when Mac like first said something to me, and that was when I was like in my dorm, trying to figure out, you know, what was next. Like, am I dropping out? Am I wasting my time? Like, what am I doing here? And that's when he gave me, you know, some words of advice, just like nothing's ever a setback. You know, everything you're going through, everything you're doing is just something, you know, more to write about, more to talk about later. So.
Speaking of Coachella, you mentioned that Jay-Z and Beyonce caught your set this year.
Yeah.
And they waited for you.
I'm glad they saw the second weekend. Because first weekend, everything that could have went wrong. Like,
real? Like what?
From the minute we press play, like the thing that counts me down to be on beat didn't come on.
Oh, wow.
So piano comes in, no drums, and I'm just like, where am I supposed to be right now? And I had to I ran through the whole entire set like that. So I'm like powering through one song. If you ever look at the footage, I actually was like, cut it, because like second verse dropped in, I was a little bit off beat, and I'm like, y'all not about to make me look like this out here. So cut that one, went to the next song. But everything that could have went wrong. Second weekend we came back, everything was perfect. Got off stage, they're like, yo, J and B. By the time they said J and B, I was like already in motion. I was like running backstage. They were chilling on the cart, and yeah, that was pretty much it.
Did you say you did your thing? Or
yeah, I mean, fan of the music, amazing show, and somebody, one of my guys was actually like recording, capturing the moment. Yeah. And in that moment, you see Jay like wave his hand, like no cameras. And my guy's like, yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, we got the footage though.
You got the footage.
That was a great shot.
Yeah.
But you also pay homage. I mean, even having Future, like how trippy is it to to have Future be on the title track of this record, one of your biggest records, taking like one of his mixtape records and flipping it, and here you get to really collaborate with him.
It was, I'm pretty sure, surprising for the city, surprising for a lot of people, because being in the internet era, like once I flipped his song, it was a halfway between I love the new version and this is Future song. So most people didn't even know what our relationship was, but I had seen him in passing maybe about twice before we did that song, East Atlanta Love Letter. And by the time I sent the idea, it was like excitement about just being a part of it. It was no business talks to be had. It was no like figuring out anything. It was he loves it, he wants to do it, and it was done ASAP.
Was it a strategic move this time around to have features on the album? Because like the first album was kind of mainly you. You had T-Pain.
I want to leave.
Six hates this interview.
Okay.
But was it the idea to have more features and more collaborations this time around?
Yeah, the first one was me all by myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I didn't want to work with anybody, but just more so I just wanted to show I could stand on my own, do my own hooks, cut my own records. You about to cry?
It's all good.
Here. Hold on.
6 knows what time it is. There you go.
Uh-oh.
Give it a bank card already?
But yeah, I just wanted to just like invite different fan bases into my world, and through Cole, through Future, through Khalid, through Offset, like we got to put a template down for them to do something or say something they might not have done or said on their songs or their album.
Yeah. The Pretty Little Fears seems to be a big fan favorite right now, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You shook up with Cole through JID?
Yep, JID just kept saying like, yo, Cole's a fan, he wants to meet. And eventually I ended up pulling up to the studio. We sat down. Cole was, super chill, basketball shorts, T-shirt. I played him everything. I had all my rough drafts. And he was like, that's the one I want to work on. And this was like before me even saying like, can I get a feature type thing. It was just like, he was like, I like that one. Like, let me work on that. Send me that.
Right. So were you surprised how he tackled this? Kind of like more of a darker tone?
It was perfect. Like, I feel like I set it up in a way where all he had to do was just like finish it. I know when people get heavyweight features, the big question or the big like debate is like, oh, he killed your song.
Did he take your song from you?
I'm like, no, like I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And Cole came through with like a 32. I don't even know how long the verse was.
A lot of bars there.
But I mean, I can't speak for Cole, but to me that was a letter to his wife. Like I don't know personally who he was writing to, but that's what I took it as. And I'm like, the fact that he had the space to do something that he might not have done on his album is like perfect, bro. Take it away, go.
Right. My favorite joint on there is Scripture. Like I felt like you really went out there, got your shit off on that particular record. Yeah. Was that the mission?
Yeah, Scripture, records like Scripture, Nonchalant, Loaded Gun, like those are moments where I do get to like stick my chest out a little bit because
that battle rap.
Yeah, I'm about to say most of the time it's a super humble or super R&B or super like just passive, and those are moments where I get to like talk tell my story. Kind of like Never Know on the first album. I think scripture was like a 2.0. I never know.
So you really wrote that in a hotel the size of a closet?
In Montreal, yeah.
I saw you had put that up on IG. I didn't notice it, so I looked back to your feed.
Oh, yeah?
The day you had did it or so, around the time you put it up.
I was in Montreal and they like made a mistake and booked a bad hotel, like a horrible one. Like the bed was touching the desk, like the desk, the back of the chair for the desk was touching the bed. The nightstand was right next to the bed. It was like literally a square.
That's like an apartment in Brooklyn.
It was super small. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, we can like switch you out. We can get you another. I'm like, just like set up the studio equipment. Let me just figure this out. So,
right.
Yeah.
But that one particular line, you said, "Don't compare me to no nigga that I'm better than." It seems like as if you always get those chips off your shoulder. Like,
yeah. I think when you're a new act.
Clap it up, 6.
Yeah, that's right. When you're a new act, the first thing people do to process who you are, what you do is like compare to you. Compare you to somebody else. So it's like, yeah, I like him. He sound like so and so mixed with so and so and so and so, and it's just like maybe if you got to combine all those people, then I sound like myself. You know, it's just like so. Yeah, coming up, you get comparisons. You get like, oh, he sound like this, or he reminds me of that. But at the end of the day, like I don't do what they do, and they can't do what I do.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you hate that people try to lump you in with that and try to dark everything's like, well, it's dark and it's synths and it's a certain sound. And
yeah, but I mean, I just know what I do.
Yeah.
I'm super confident in what I do, and knowing that like I'm not here to duplicate anybody else, and that nobody can duplicate me and what I went through as far as battle rap, as far as rapping, writing songs. Like I have a particular style, and my fans know my voice the minute they hear me.
Right.
You talk about how meticulous you are with your music. You said something about you spent 12 hours on 2 bars. Like, what song on that album was that? Do you remember?
I mean, sometimes it takes like it can get really, really vigorous. Like when I'm in the studio by myself. I usually like kick my engineer, producer out, and I'm like tracking by myself at the boards. And sometimes it's quick. But other times I'll be in the studio for like the entire night, and I won't like get to the next 4 bars until like 6 a.m.
Wow.
Just because like I won't force it out. Like I'll listen to it, I'll play it back, I'll try to like a few different things. I'll take a nap, and then and then I'll like get up, and then like maybe like 5 a.m. I'm like, oh, I got it. And all because it's just like when you don't have like that block schedule of a studio time where it's like I gotta be out of here by whatever o'clock. It's like, bro, just take your time, think, rest. Get on the internet, like do whatever you got to do to make sure the next lines are perfect lines and not just like I can rap, so let me just put some lines down on paper. Like every line that I put out has to be like, it has to be better than the next, or just comparable to the next.
Right. Speaking of lines, like one of the most meaningful lines that I found on the album was you talk about an episode where you had like a gun to your face at 16 years old. Or
yeah, this was in my old neighborhood, Quail Ridge on South Harrison, and random night. Had nothing to do with me. Like I didn't know who it was. I was just like walking down the street late at night, going to the crib. And usually in like neighborhoods like that, and during that time, like if somebody drives past you and they hit the brake lights, then you already know like the night's about to get like ridiculous for no reason. So I see the brake lights. I'm like, oh shit. And they hop out, gun to my face, and I'm just like, in my head, like during that time, I'm literally thinking like, I haven't even had a kid yet, bro. Like,
wow.
And to be that young and to think something that old is kind of weird to think, but that's all I could think about in that moment. It's just like I'm not done, like I got a lot of stuff to do. So, smack the gun down, take off running down the street. There's like
you smack the gun down. Yeah.
So it's like it's a tall fence to my right, so I can't hop it. So I have to run straight. And then I look back and I see him like with the gun again, holding it, just like pointing it at my back. I'm like, please, 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 please. And as soon as I get to where the fence breaks, I just cut right. Boom. My house was like right across the street. Go in the house, say what's up to my mom, lay on the couch, go to sleep. Don't say nothing.
Wow.
And she had no idea what happened.
You also talk about surviving car accidents too, right?
Yep. And I was never driving. Never the driver. So
I don't even know how to drive.
Yeah. But yeah, the worst one was just coming from a Denzel Curry show in Florida. This was before everything.
Denzel Curry?
Yeah. I went to go see Curry somewhere in Florida. And on the way back, we were deciding, like, are we going to drive back or stay the night? Because we didn't have, like, a hotel. So we decided to drive back, and the person at the wheel fell asleep. I wake up, we hit the median, and then I see him, like, yank the wheel. And from there, if you, like, yank a wheel,
right,
you about to spin, you about to flip. So just held on, spun, flipped, landed in a ditch. Everybody miraculously was okay.
Wow.
We crawled up out of there, and to this day, like, those are moments where it's a lot going on, but I still think about like just the bigger picture, which is it's just not over yet.
Right,
man.
6 is going in. You said your mom didn't know about that gun incident. I mean, obviously she heard the album. Like, what did she respond to it after?
I mean, she found out a lot of stuff after the fact. I just never wanted to bother her, like, with whatever was going on in the street. Like,
right.
You never want to bring that stuff to your crib. You know, as a young man, as a kid, it's just like, I can handle it on my own, or I just don't want to stress you out. You know, so I went through a lot of stuff and, you know, was in a lot of different situations that she didn't know anything about until later, where people are just like, oh, yeah, you ain't know when blah, blah, blah happened, or he was over there with blah, 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 and that happened. Like, until one of the homies got killed in the neighborhood, like, she had no idea that anything like that was even going on. Like, and that was because, like, that night was just a night where everybody came out the house. Like, police were there, everybody's mom was outside, and that was when she was like, okay, cool, like, we gotta move, we gotta get out of here.
Wow. Somewhere between humble and hell no.
Yeah.
Why are you that way? Like, I thought that was a pretty poignant line on Nonchalant.
Just because I do like to, I'm just big on leading by example, which is, you know, with my fans, with my friends, like with everybody, it's like I want to always give them the idea that, you know, I do feel like I'm talented, but I don't feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. And every day I wake up, I'm working to get better. So staying in a humble space, staying in a grounded space, you know, it keeps me, like, you know, certain of what I need to be working on versus feeling like I already figured it out. And then, you know, sometimes you have flashes where it's like you need to pat yourself on the back. Like, you need to look at everything that you've done and realize that it's not something that everybody can do.
Also, the biggest thing about you is that you've made it very clear, you know, you've had bad experiences in this industry, to put it mildly, and, like, you know, you wanted to do it and succeed on your own terms. Yeah. And you've done it that way.
Yeah, I had to go through, like, a couple bad deals. I had to go through, I mean, a lot of it has been, you know, become more public lately. Yeah. But in that story and in all of those stories, like, it was never, you know, told to ask for sympathy or to like share some kind of sob story. It was to let people know, and other artists coming up, you know, like, you need to look at the paperwork, you know, before you sign it. And, and you need to get a lawyer. And if you do end up in a bad situation, you don't need to be discouraged because it's bad. Like, you can figure it out. You can figure a way out. If I know somebody to tell you, like, yo, look out for him, I'm going to tell you, like, yo, look out for them. Like, don't go over there. So that's my job. So,
I thought it was interesting you tweeted that it took you, like, 8 years to make real money in this game, and you would do it all over again.
Yeah. I remember, like, going out to eat and people being like, you hungry? I'm like, nah, I'm good. Stomach growling, just like, yeah, or like ordering an appetizer and then waiting for somebody else to pick up the check. And just like, I had so many weird moments like that, to the point where I was like, bro, this better be worth it. Like, everything that you're going through, like, it better be worth the embarrassment. It better be worth, like, all these pride shots that you're taking, because, you know, I don't know, it's just like a weird space to be in, especially like once I left and I got signed for the first time, and everybody back home thought, like, he made it. So then you have to go back home and, like, not pretend, but it's just like still keep them inspired. It's like, you know, I don't want y'all to know what I'm going through, so I'm just gonna tell you the good side, and whatever she said.
She got the card out. What's it like now, having to manage money and having money and, like, being successful in terms of finances and stuff like that? What have you learned in that process?
Business managers are the key to life. They make sure I don't go broke. And yeah, it's just cool to have, like, people who know exactly what they're doing and what they're talking about. And any question I could possibly ever want to know, money related, music business related, like, I ask, no matter how stupid it may sound. Like, I have to know, because at the end of the day, I want to know the business side of it too. Like, I want to know where all my money's going, who I'm, you know, breaking it down with, how much I got to pay for taxes, how much I'm getting back. Like, I need to know all of this stuff. So my business managers are my best friends.
Right. Yeah. But you say, you know, you're not where you want to be. Where do you want to be? It seems like you made it already, man.
Yeah.
Grammy nominated.
Yeah.
You got to win that Grammy. That's what we're about to do. We're about to get an R&B album of the year. That's what we're about to do.
Yeah, nominated is part one. But I honestly just want to make as much music as I can make. I want to take it as far as I can take it. So I know that comes with a lot more work, a lot more consideration of what the Sonics need to be for it to break, you know, like, a new crowd, a new, just to bring more people in. And then, honestly, I want to be able to, like, after all of that is done, like, I want to be able to tour with, like, loyal fans and not really worry about a release date or a deadline or anything like that. I just want to get to a point where I can feel like I've placed my, you know, my feet in the ground, and my fans are here to stay, or, like, some of them go. It doesn't really matter. I just want to be comfortable. I want to make what I want to make, and I want to make sure she's good. And once that's like all set, I'm good.
Royce the 5'9" called you a gift to the culture.
That's what I'm about to say. Yeah, that's amazing. Coming from him, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you sound like a Billy Goat.
Yeah. That was amazing
That was on
too.
the podcast,
that was
right?
equally amazing. That was equally amazing. Yeah, I remember.
So you're not gonna battle him. You ain't got no boss.
Oh,
no,
no, never that.
But you're going on the world tour too in a couple next month, right?
I'll start next week.
Oh wow. Okay.
I go to South Africa, and I start there, then Australia, and then Europe, and then the States.
Break down the artists you chose because it's kind of a very
it's kind of
eclectic group.
Select dates for select places, but we have They in Australia, Boogie in Australia, and then I have Tierra Whack on like select days, mainly like the lit dates in the States, and then I have Summer Walker supporting the whole way through, and then I'm thinking about bringing one more person on. Just like for the States, just as a surprise. Right.
Yeah. Why Tierra Whack is on the tour and when she's also on the album? Like, what is it about her that you like so much?
I mean, she's just innovative. Like, I like that she does what comes natural, and I can like see that and I can hear it. Like when I first heard her project, like with every minute that passed, with every song that came on,
minute,
I was like, I was like, you didn't know where it was going next, but you were excited, to hear it and to see it. Like Tierra's amazing.
Yeah, she's dope.
Everywhere I've been saying, like, when they ask me what I listen to, I'm like, Tierra Whack, to the point where I was somewhere and somebody, like, pulled me to the side and they like, yo, did the label tell you to talk about Tierra? I'm like, no, I just love Tierra.
Right. No, I see you guys interact on social, so you guys have a good rapport.
Yeah, no, they thought it was like a label thing where it's just like, make sure you plug Tierra. No,
she signed to your production company?
Yeah, just rock with it, that's all.
Another female artist that you rocked with last year, Dreezy, on the Spa verse, man. That was
I'm about to say, that was a crazy verse for her too. Like, I did my thing, I set it up. Yeah. But obviously she shined on that, and that was a perfect, she killed you. She killed. I mean, of course she killed me. But in my defense, that song wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the boys. So,
okay.
That was my producer.
Trump.
That was my producer. That was my situation.
The whole marketing plan was you.
And Dreezy, like I said, it was just like it was more fit for her to take the stage and like showcase what she could do.
Trump didn't send those people at you, did he?
Nah, man. He ain't.
I think as wrestling with it, you said Let Her Go was the last song. Was that the last song you did for the album?
Yeah, they told me like no more records, don't cut no more records.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm itching because I'm like something's missing, bro. Like, especially
that's what I'm saying. It seems so intricate. Especially with the sequencing. Did you know that's what you were missing, or just kind of when you cut it?
I knew for a fact because like we know this is like a slower paced album, so I'm like something upbeat is missing, bro. So I'm not like gonna stop recording records until we figure out what that last one is. And Business Boy sent me that beat last minute. We were like mixing. And I was like, I'm making a new song tonight. I don't care what they say. And I made that song, and it was immediately like thrown on the list of songs to go on the album.
I was kind of upset that That Far didn't make the album. I know you put it as a Lucy last year, but that was like my go-to record of like for the latter part of 2017.
Yeah, That Far and Cutting Ties, honestly, those are like two songs that could have made the album. Especially
you still like those songs.
I love those songs. Yeah.
It's a good song. Like
he dropped Cutting Ties on Valentine's Day. That's savagery, man.
But if you have like a troll on Twitter or like social media bothering you, I recommend everyone to go listen to That Far.
It makes you feel better. That, right? That inspired That Far?
Yeah, that's what That Far was. It was like a random tweet. This guy was like, yeah, Black is cool. He's just a little one-track minded. And I was like...
One track.
You got some nerve. Tweet from your mama house.
And I didn't even feel no kind of way when I read it. I was just like, bro, I'm literally recording right now. So I'm just going to throw this in the hook and we're going to keep it rocking.
But it seems like as if you respond good to the negativity. Like it feels
because I see it all. So I take what I hear and I see and I decide what stays. Like I can see anything. It don't matter if it's good, negative. Like I see it all because I like to see it all. First of all, I'm only seeing it because I want to see what my fans are saying. Yeah. So if I happen to run into somebody else, it's just like, take it with a grain of salt, keep it moving, make a hit song, and tour Australia, because if I didn't make that song, I probably wouldn't have toured Australia that quick. Like, That Far was my second biggest song in Australia after Problems, and so shout out to him.
Wow. So it's important that you stay connected to follow these social things, like it doesn't drive you crazy. Like some artists can't handle all that.
Yeah, I mean,
the negative and the positive that comes with it. Right, Six?
But and I know, like, I can definitely understand why it is so hard to handle. Like, imagine seeing like that many opinions and that many like critiques and
in real time.
Yeah. Like it can literally drive you crazy, and I think people forget that we are human. So I can handle it. I see it. You know, I've seen everything from the best things to the worst things at the end of the day. Like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what my purpose is. I know I'm making her proud. So it's kind of hard to have that tough skin. Yeah. But I didn't get it from the internet. I got it from the neighborhood. So it's like, you see.
Say East Atlanta is a tough place too, right? I would assume.
It's like, say what you want, you know, do what you want, but at the
Whoa, watch out.
Uh-oh.
What's up with you? Are you sleepy?
But for people that don't know, can you break down the whole thing of the black and the six and the six lack? We have fun with that. Like, can you break down for people that don't know the origin of the whole situation?
Yep. The name came from just the area, Zone 6. The color was just the color I was decked out in when I was a kid. I got the name when I was in middle school, and I just rocked with it for the rest of eternity. 6. And now it's representative of this baby that won't stop moving and doesn't know. She don't know what she want to do. Oh, you want the card?
Oh, she want the plastic.
She lost her card.
Just hold on to it.
But then sometimes people, friends, you still call you 6 as a nickname, and you're okay with that too.
Yeah. I mean, that's because they actually know. So it's like, clearly you can call me 6 if you know. I mean, and at this point I'm over like all the. I never really cared about the mispronunciation, especially since my merch.
It's created great merch, right?
It does exceptionally well.
Have you sued H&M yet?
Nope. No, but
you saw H&M?
I noticed.
They swagger jacked them.
Really?
Man, but at least it ended up in Urban.
Oh, okay.
And then I might end up making merch for the people who just really don't want to say it right. It's like, cool, if you don't want to say it right, bro, I got a shirt for you. You can buy it. We can have a divided but united fan base. Like, it don't matter.
So the check's still the same, right?
Same.
As long as they spell the name right on the check, that's all that really matters.
Why do you think it's so, like, it seemed like when we first interviewed you, you had long hair. We couldn't film you on camera. You know, now it's like almost the complete opposite. Like, why do you feel more comfortable putting yourself out there and sharing more? I
just had to hit reset, honestly. Like, I had a point where I noticed I was performing. 6. I had a point where I was performing, and I just noticed, like, I was performing with my head down. I was meeting people with my head down. I was like, I felt like I became free black, and that was like a thing I was trying to move past. So, yeah, just had to hit reset, start over from scratch, and I feel way better.
Yeah. Was it dramatic cutting your hair? Like, what was that process like for you?
6.
You put it in the video, on the Switch video.
Oh, was it in the Switch video?
Yeah, you had little clips of it.
I didn't go anywhere for a week after I cut my hair.
Oh, really?
I was traumatized.
How long you were growing it for?
Maybe like a little over 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Man.
So you had some, like, a barber come through and do it, or you did it, or?
Yeah. I had first. I started to. Hold on, because she about to get in trouble on the podcast live.
Don't get in trouble on the podcast.
6.
She is our youngest guest.
She might be.
Yeah.
Record. There you go.
You sleepy? Yeah, because you keep dropping the same card.
It's all good. Yeah. Rap radars for the kids.
I bet y'all ain't had an episode like this.
We had childish guests before, so it's okay.
Okay.
I forgot where we're at. We're talking about
what were we talking about? Babies will do that, bro. They make you forget.
Cut your hair. You had the person come by.
Yeah, I tried to like save. So I never had anybody touch my dreads at all.
Okay.
So it was free form, like without even like starting a certain kind of way. So once the loctician looked at my head, she was like, all of this got to go. Well, most of it has to go. So when I saw what was left, I was like, I'm not keeping no man bun on my head. I'm not like, we're not about to style this any kind of way. It just all got to go. I cut it. My guy out in LA cut it, and it just took me a while to accept what was going on. So I was in the crib like, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't talking to nobody, and I need to like figure out how to be comfortable with this.
It's like when Iverson was at the All-Star game and all the Eastern guys, he came out the locker room and it was all like, oh, man, you cut the braids. So do you remember when you first went out? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, people were looking at me to try to figure out who I was again. So people would see me and they would be like, damn, I think that's black, but it can't be black. And it was cool for me to be able to like have that space again to where it took people a minute to recognize my face.
Yeah. Did it affect your recording process a little bit?
Maybe not so much on the recording end. Maybe not so much on the recording end. Just performance especially. Like,
right.
The minute I came out on stage in LA.
Oh, that was your first time back on stage?
Yeah, I came out on stage in LA, and like I was just moving differently. Like I was running on stage, and before then I was never running on stage. I wanted to. I just felt like I was held back.
All right, that's dope. I saw that cool stage moment. Was it last year when he got the gold plaque and your mom was there and your whole crew was there?
Yeah, that was in when I got the which gold plaque? I
think it might
which gold plaque? Oh, we double platinum with Problems, right? We platinum with X Calling, and the album is platinum too.
Yeah, double platinum with Problems. Album is probably almost platinum.
Yeah.
And X Calling is platinum, and free is gold. Yeah.
Oh, man, you come a long way. I remember you tweeted. You said needs to tell you. Oh, take 5. Okay.
No, you keep going.
Okay, cool. He said he used to tell you how to make a hit every day, and then all you did was engineer by yourself in the kitchen and drop dope stuff on your SoundCloud. So that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, recipe for success is also trying to keep this one happy. You all right?
Don't be sad.
It's all right.
This is your debut, and this is what you're gonna do. This is what you're gonna do. You sleepy, I know.
She's tired.
Rap Radar Kids. We gotta have a baby podcast now. It's all good.
You tackle it head on about what has this process been like, fatherhood for you, like, and sharing some of it with us.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't get to see her like that much at all. So with touring, with recording, and then with like trying to figure out like the relationship between me and her mom, it's just been like it's been like a process, So nothing in it has been like seamless, but I don't know. It's just like I get to work, I get to do what I love, and it's never been like solely about making sure she's good financially. But it's been more so about like leaving a legacy and like leaving something behind for her to figure out like what her purpose is one day.
Right. And I mean, it's almost like you always talk about a lot of it in the music outside of her, also like relationships, that it's hard for you to put anything less than your work before that, right? That's a common thing that you tackle. Yeah, so going back to the main theme of the record, you talked about like opening up a conversation about love, like and you've empowered a lot of your fans to share their thoughts about a lot of things. Like, what's that process been like putting it out there and then getting all this feedback back?
I think what people don't really know is like while I'm telling these stories, while I'm writing these stories, like in addition to coaching other people through it, I'm trying to coach myself through it, like in real time. So a problem that I developed, within my relationships and the people I know is like I would write about it before I would talk about it. And I would think because I wrote about it that I didn't have to talk about it. And then next thing you know, you're in a room with somebody and they hear something in your song and they're like, yeah. So, it was a habit I had developed, and I had to figure out, how to break it and how to actually communicate more. So this album was about communication, not only for, other people to open up discussion, but just like a reminder in my everyday life is like, bro, like you have to talk about things. Like you have to not beat around the bush. You have to like not leave things to people's imagination. Like you have to say exactly what you mean, because one day your daughter's going to have questions and you're going to have to answer her and not be like, I don't know, or so
it's just a different thing of like having a female voice. It just shows that sometimes men and women communicate differently.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it was just like about having that different perspective on the album in general, like with the skits. And I wish that I could have had like that strong female feature or verse, that was the only thing that I felt like was missing from the album. But through the skits and through other things, background vocals, we got to like just implement that, because I don't think I can ever make a project without some kind of female like presence on it.
But towards the end of the album, you had this tearjerker stand. Like what was the thought process behind that? You just wanted to make a wedding record?
Yeah, I heard the production. It was a completely different song at first. It went like super left, but I was just like, take everything off. Like let me figure out the song. Let me figure out the vocals, the words, all of that. And line for line, it was just like a stream of what I thought like love was supposed to feel like, what it was supposed to sound like, things I wanted to say to the person I love, and hopefully a song that people can get like married to one day or like whatever. So Stan was definitely more on the soft side, on the sweet side of things. And for it to be at the end of the album is kind of letting people know, like at the end of all these conversations, at the end of these ups and downs and like these disagreements and disconnects, like this is what we should all be trying to get to, you know, is to feel like this, you know, to be in a state where this song is your favorite song, or this song is the one that represents like the conclusion of it all. So Stan was placed at the end to just kind of show like where I'm headed towards, and you know where I want everybody else to head towards.
Is that one of your favorites on the album? Like, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I think all of them are my favorites. Because if it wasn't my favorite, it didn't make the album. That's for sure. Like we had a ton of songs. And
oh wow!
Every time I narrowed down the list, like I had to keep narrowing down the list. So we narrowed it down to like 40, and then we narrowed it down to like 25.
Wow!
And then we narrowed it down to like 20. And once I got to 20, I was like, we cannot have any more than 20. So if I make a new song,
who's it taken out?
Yeah. I'm just like, if I make a new song, something has to be replaced. Like if something else is getting added to the list, then what's gonna go? So we're like alternating around 20, and then once we figured out like the strongest of those, we were like, okay, now we can like figure out the project and like put it together.
I'm sorry, being such a craftsman of words, is there any particular lyrics that really stand out to you that you're very proud of?
All of the lyrics on Nonchalant. Just from a skill point, you know, just like being able to weave in and out of like a beat that's looping and it doesn't really like change, but to just show different flows, different metaphors. Every line on Nonchalant is my favorite, and Sorry might be like one of the more personal ones, and every line in that like means something, like just means something super potent to me. Sorry and Disconnect really, but Sorry just being like that song where I know in my life like sometimes sorry just isn't enough. So and I'll talk about like righting my wrongs and like all these things. So yeah, just like me telling myself again, like, bro, you can't write yourself out of these situations, you know. You have to figure it out in person.
It seems like you said that like a little bit on unfair on the beginning track, like you feel like your mistakes make you less than the man, but lately feel like them shits really can. Like what made you come to that conclusion?
Just like that feeling of knowing that you can't do everything right, knowing that you're not always going to do everything right, and I guess accepting that it's okay to not be right sometimes. It's just like, of course, I'm apologetic for my wrongs and for the things that I didn't have figured out when I needed to figure them out, but I'm also human, you know, and I'm also like trying to figure it out, and anybody who can look at you and tell you like they got it figured out is lying, you know, because we're all just kind of in this shit, just you know, kind of just figuring it out day by day. It's like sometimes you're on course, sometimes you get off course, sometimes you're focused, sometimes something distracts you. Like, but I just have to accept that like being human, you know, doesn't mean I'm a bad person, and knowing that I want to get better is like the first step in all of it.
Right, you definitely have this maturity on this album. Like even on that record, I think it was I forget which record it was, but you said you even have this attitude of a veteran, like even though you're like a rookie in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, because like my introduction to the world was after maybe 10 years of rapping, and even when I was a kid, it was literally like 10 years of sharpening my sword, 10 years of practicing, 10 years of writing. So by the time everybody else saw me, I felt like in my own sense and in my own way, I'm like, I'm new to the game, but I'm not new to this.
Right.
Yeah. I know you showed love to Thug on the album.
Yeah, Thug is.
I heard a rumor you might be on his next album.
Yeah, definitely on his next album. Definitely on his next album. We got like a few together. Dope to work with Thug. He kind of runs like if you ever see him in the studio, he's like a point guard, and he'll like start the idea, lay the melody, lay a first verse, and then like point at somebody and be like, you go right here, and then you guys go back and forth, and then like you try this. Like he's literally in there calling plays and just like breeding, just like the best out of everybody. So
I heard he's mad at you though because the joint's too small. He don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm mad too. It's pretty good.
He was like, that's it. When I got finished playing, he was like, that's it. I was like, I mean,
he wants to be called Thug in full song.
Yeah, but he walked out, and somebody was saying that he wanted me to send it, and he was like, man, it's too short, man. He need to send me that. But at that point, I'm like, no, I gotta wrap this album up.
We mentioned JID and Dre, but you seem still very. I'm sure the phone gets rang a lot, but you're very selective of who you work with. Like, in terms of, everyone can't get a black feature like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's never been about, you know, like the check or anything else for me. It's like I meet you. If it works out as far as like how we interact, then maybe we work. But even before then, like coming up as an artist, I was never on the side of like how much for a feature. Let me get a feature. Blah blah blah. It's like you have to connect with people first. You have to build a relationship. And if you know things match up, then you work. You don't kind of put that out there first. You don't really know like who somebody is. So how can you know if you want to work with them if you don't know who they are?
I thought you and Erykah Badu were gonna get in the studio after you did the cover of On and On.
I hope so soon. I love Erykah. I love Erykah. Everybody loves Erykah.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully one of these days.
Yeah.
That's like another a goal.
Another goal.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw you cross one of them off with The Weeknd. Y'all guys went on tour last year. What was that experience like?
I learned everything I needed to learn for my own tour. Like I went on that arena tour, and going from like 200 cap to arena is a crazy change. So
I remember, not to cut you, I remember your first New York City show. It was at the Mercury Lounge. It was like a closet. And now you're.
Yep. And that's why I say like going from. Like being thrown into that is like you immediately have to figure out how to be the best showman. It's either that or people leave saying I saw Black and he wasn't that good live. And it's not even because like for any artist, it's not even because you're not that good live. You just might not be good in the arena because the arena is not easy. So I went out there every night and I figured it out. I was watching him. I was watching the crowd. I was just figuring out. I'm like, okay, what can I add to my game from stage presence to crowd control to call and response, like all these things that I didn't know before. Like when I was at Mercury Lounge, I learned on that tour because you would come out and 70% of the crowd is not there for you, so they're looking they're looking like, who is this? And you have to prove to them like I'm supposed to be here in a way. So I would go out there every night. I would look at them and I would just be like, I'm supposed to be here, and that's how I would carry myself the whole time I'm performing. It's like when I say hands up, hands go up. And if you don't put your hands up, then you look silly because everybody else is on. Yeah.
So those like the challenges when you are performing on a big arena stage like that? Because, as a fan, it just looks like, okay, you go on stage, do your thing, and
you will get chewed up and spit out. And I think that's where like a lot of new artists like kind of get that rap in the beginning for not being good performers. I mean, some people aren't good performers, but being in an arena is just a different ball game. Like I said, it's just like you have to know and learn and like do certain things in order to get the crowd on your side, because otherwise they're gonna have this perception of just like he's just not good. And everything from the audio is different. Like just stepping out there and like actually doing what you do vocally is more challenging because of the sound in the arena. And like you think you can take your in-ears out when you're on a small stage. You take your in-ears out in an arena, you're not gonna hear shit. Like it's gonna be echoing everywhere.
Echoes,
so like you
it
can't.
Gets confusing probably.
There's no way that you can do that. No way. So you go on an arena tour and you'll definitely learn all the tricks you need to learn to take back on your own tour.
I know you're excited with this tour. You got coming up in terms of a lot of new material now, and you said you want the fans to sing their heart out.
Yeah. I can't wait to like mix the shows, because I've been touring off of Free Black for 2 years.
Wow.
So I just can't wait to like put in some of these new songs and like figure out the balance, figure out how the story is going to be on stage, figure out a new way to present it on stage, because as much as we care about rollouts, is as much as we care about the tour and the show. So for the people who have seen the Free Black show maybe like twice or 3 times in certain cities, it's just like, what can I do differently, and what can I do so that they leave and they're like, it was equally as amazing as the first time I saw them, or better.
Right. How do you settle these debates between East Atlanta Love Letter and Free Black? It seems like,
are we getting into it? I
don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's dope to even like see the conversation of people trying to figure it out, because it could have been it ain't Free Black, and that's just, it is what it is. Like I still love the first album. It could have been that. So people flocking to this album and like defending Free Black, like that's a great conversation to have. Like I wouldn't have it any other way. I think that this new album is an extension of the album, and that they're related in some kind of way. So comparing them it makes sense.
Yeah, I think your buddy Joe Budden said that he wouldn't like the second album. If it was first. Like it had to be that type of journey.
Yeah, it had to be. It had to. They had to connect, and this one had to be the next one. So I don't know what's next, but I think that these 2 albums were like chapters that belong together, and what's next is completely different.
So what's gonna happen to those records that you recorded? Are you gonna
mixtape?
I don't know. I mean, we could put out a mixtape. We could put out an EP. We could ship them off. Get some writing credits. None of them are ever really dead. I'm always kind of just like moving songs around, trying to figure out if people need something. Maybe I can help. But other than that, like I make a ton of songs. None of them are just like lost causes.
Okay.
Like we revisit stuff all the time. Like the second verse from Switch came from a song I made in like 2013 or like 2014. No, yeah, 2014.
I like the approach that you have for the Switch video. Like, you're laying on the ground and people just, instead of helping you, just taking pictures and things like that.
You disabled my phone for 4 minutes. But yeah, that was just kind of, Switch was about perspective. You know, like Switch was about not feeling like you have the answers or the solutions to what somebody else is going through, and just being mindful that, you know, like, you might be going through something, but somebody else is going through something, and don't ever think, you know, that you can just be like, well, you could have just did this, or you could have just handled it that way. Like, in Switch, I'm trying my best to understand the other side of the story and tell my side, you know, without being biased, without being selfish.
Right. Sacrifices are real. You lose money, friends, moments, and you push your body and its health
that's
to
what I'm
new
dealing
limits.
with. That's what I'm dealing with right now.
Right.
I was out of it for 2 weeks, like on vocal rest. I couldn't talk. My cords were like inflamed, all kinds of.
Damn.
That's from touring so much. And then on the flight back from New York, something happened. I got like an infection. I woke up from a nap feeling like somebody had like coughed right on me or something. Like, it wasn't mine, because I went to sleep a certain kind of way and I woke up different. So I'm like, yo, what happened while I was asleep, bro? Just felt like glass. I'm like, but yeah, I was out on vocal rest. I had like a new diet. I couldn't eat, drink, do anything that I normally do. So trying to fix that and get ready for tour now.
Right. No new vices, nothing like that?
Never, no.
Okay.
Nope. I'm good. I'm so good. Yeah, I got a pretty good gauge on what the game is.
Right.
I smoke when I want to smoke.
Okay.
I drink when I want to drink. I'm not a smoker or a drinker. I never learn how to roll, and I never will learn how to roll, because like I don't want to have. Like, I don't want to have that luxury. Like, yeah, I enjoy, you know, smoking here and there, but I don't want to be like, where the weed at, you know. Like,
Right.
So yeah, don't know how to roll. Never gonna learn. I drink whenever I want to drink, which is, you know, on occasion, and
Knew that was coming.
other than
like
that,
it's time to go.
Other than that, nope, nothing new.
But you did get a new whip last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, little just X6.
The little X6.
It's a dad truck. That's all.
Was it the dad truck?
Yeah, I can't be out here getting buying all that other stuff. You gotta have like a back seat so I can put a car seat in it.
Right.
Even though I did put the car seat in the I-8.
But now it's crazy. It's like like you said, 2 summers ago you didn't have no money for the bus.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, that's what I mean by like one side of the spectrum to the other, and that's why like when I do go back to Atlanta, I'm still like in the neighborhood and still moving around, because I'm like, you guys saw me at the bus stop, like y'all saw me, you know, walking, sweating like down the street, you know. So I still try to keep my feet in where I can.
So it's like the neighborhood's really rallying behind you. They're rooting for you.
Yeah, and being back there yesterday, what I got to see after the album drop is just like y'all are actually proud, you know, like, and that makes me, you know, feel really good, because it's not just like here's a musician that we love. It's just like here's somebody that we're proud of, and they just kept saying like we're proud, and you know, you inspire us.
That's awesome.
Well, congrats, man, on the album, man. Six,
Thank
we
you.
out of here. Thankfully for you.
Thanks, Six.
You made it to the end.
Album of the year. You ready?
You
R&B album of the year.
That's what people are saying.
That's what it needs to be.
You got the Grammy speech ready?
If I could not try and end up at the Grammys, I need to be at the Grammys this year.
Speaking of the Grammys, before we get out of here, I must admit that blazer that you had was very fly.
The who?
The blazer that you wore at the Grammys.
Oh yeah.
It was so hot. I was trying to Google it. I couldn't find it.
I forgot what exactly it was. You know, I had to know for that day, because everybody's like, "What are you wearing? What are you wearing?" But
Right.
I forgot now.
But you prepared.
Yep.
You got the Grammy speech ready, Black?
Yeah. Hopefully, I ain't got to bring her on stage so she could be crying like this. It's all right.
All right, Six. Well, thank you, Black. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks,
Thank y'all. I
Black.
appreciate
Congrats on that album, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Rap Radar Podcast. We
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.